Hello there. It's your favorite braided Jedi's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Star Wars Black Series Obi Wan Kenobi from Episode 1, which is technically the second release of this figure, as the first one was done as a Celebration exclusive with the vintage carding. This figure's pretty good overall, but it has an issue, at least on mine, and we're going to talk about it. First, accessories. Comes with his lightsaber, decent enough sculpt, black paint, not done great, red paint, and silver paint, I think, down there. So 3 paint apps once again, and then the blade on this one is also kind of stuck in. But it will remove. Blue translucent, but you know what I want. White rod through the center, blue translucent around it, in order to give the glowing effect. And this is a problem when the tolerances aren't quite right on this. And, you know, I honestly think it'd be better to just include a second hilt. You know, it would do away with a lot of those issues. But it'll pin to his belt, and he can hold it. All right, we're going to talk about the figure, and it has one glaring issue, and we're going to cover it first, at least on mine. And please let me know in the comments if you have this figure and it's not the case. But the back of the sculpt of the head is warped. And as a result, this piece here, see, like it's not a natural curve, like it kind of comes up and then it's sharp dent in. This piece here has a tendency to get stuck inside of the neck piece where the double ball peg sits. I finally got it out, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy, so to speak. But that's it. That's my big issue here. Now, with the hair, it's painted brown, and then with a dark wash over top, and then we have the ponytail, which is a glued-in piece, but does not swivel, which is fine. It would kind of be weird to have it sitting out to the side. And then the braid is a glued-in piece as well, and it has the same kind of effects on it. Face, good sculpt, not their best, certainly not their worst, but pretty good sculpt, and painted fairly well. You know, I would like to see them, because here's the thing, right? This is the balance that we have to strike. So we complain about things, and when I say complain, what I mean is criticize, but I've been reading my comments too much, I guess. But we criticize things, right? And then hopefully it gets back to the people that are kind of in charge, and they make changes. And then the figures get better, and then we appreciate those changes. But then we have to remain critical in order to hopefully gear everybody towards looking for even the next best option. So, allow me. This digital face paint, right? They're doing a great job with it, but it always makes the face look wet. Somebody commented on my Yoda, I said my buddy Shoulders, he commented on my Yoda, and he's like, man, Yoda's using moisturizers these days, which is funny, but it's also true. Not that he uses moisturizers, but that it looks as though he does. And it's not as much a big deal on Yoda as he's in the swamp. Who knows what kind of moisture's on his face. But with Obi-Wan here, it's a bit distracting. So we have a double ball peg from the head into the neck. The neck is a separate piece. As a result, there's no neck paint issues because it's just cast in that plastic. And you get a decent head sculpt down. Actually, if they made the neck like a hinge or something, you would get even more. But you get it good enough as it is. And then up, it's good. Actually, the neck is on a ball peg as well. So it's a double ball peg from the head into the neck, and then a single one from the neck into the chest, I believe, which is nice. Really well done. You get the swivel as well, a little bit of attitude, or maybe even catitude, you know what I mean? And then we have the chest. So this piece is a separate piece glued on, the outer tunic. The inner tunic is all cast in the same color plastic, and the wrinkles and stuff look good. So no paint apps per se, but looks good enough. There actually is a small skin tone paint app deep inside, which is nice. That's a little bit of pride that wasn't necessary either, so it's nice to see that. We have disc hinge shoulders that get you 90 degrees and the swivel. We have a single hinged elbow with a swivel, but we have a limited range due to the sculpt of the robes. We have a wrist swivel and hinge in out on this hand, hinge in out on this hand. We have 2 holding hands. We have 1 weapon. Many will argue that's to hold the lightsaber, but it's always going to look awkward because the articulation in the elbow isn't great. So that's the issue there. Then we have this soft piece of plastic here with the brown painted on, the silver, the black, and the gold painted on. So that's all nicely done. The robes are a little clean, but I think they're a little clean in the movie, so I'm okay with it. And all of the sculpting and the wrinkles and such looks great. T-jointed ball joints for hips with a great range, and forward and back. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knee, not the prettiest, but not the worst. Then we have the next problem, which is just one of the cost of doing business things. So the lower boot is cast in this brown plastic, and then the beige is painted on. Now the good news is it matches. The bad news is you can definitely see the brown poking through, probably because it needed another coat, and who's got the time, energy, money, or resources to do so. Then we have the pants. I mean, the boots, they're sculpted great. And I can't tell if that's a shading on it or like a dust or mold release or something, but it does look as though there is something on it. I can't tell what, but it looks good. Disc hinge ankles with a peg that goes into the foot. So you get an ankle tilt up, you get an ankle tilt down, and you get the rocker where it plugs in. So no issues there. Sculpted well from the back as well. It's a pretty well done figure. Just this one kind of design error or perhaps mold error. And then, you know, my hand issue, which could be sorted even if they just released, like, if they started releasing a couple hands with the set, you could use the hands, you know, amongst the different figures. Like, there's a way to do this that doesn't cost a ton of money. So I hope they do some of that in the future. Size comparison wise, there it is next to Qui-Gon, and once again the new face stuff just works so much better. But I love the size difference here. Like, I love how he seems younger, you know, he seems like someone that would be in training. I think that works extremely well. And there it is next to the Figuarts. Now the Figuarts I do like. I mean, obviously the engineering of the figure is better per usual, but you know, as we've kind of talked about with the Anakin, there is some differentiation regarding, you know, what's best in terms of face sculpts, and I do think that the Figuarts got this one better. Excuse my camera moving around. And neither of them are perfect per se, but I prefer the Figuarts in this specific scenario, although I do still hate the hairline that's painted on. But the Figuarts feels a little bit closer to the mark than the Hasbro to me. But the Hasbro is still, like, it's neck and neck, so to speak. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the negatives. So the most glaring one, at least on mine, is this issue with the mold in regards to the hairline and where the neck ends. That's the most kind of in-your-face issue. Secondly, the elbow range is a little weak, which makes pulling off dynamic poses a little bit more challenging. And then the last issue isn't that big of a deal, but it's worth noting, and that's the beige paint over top of the brown plastic. Anytime that you have a lighter color going over a darker color, it's always going to be more challenging. Now, I don't think they had a whole lot of choice this time because there's so much of the brown where they would have had to paint so much of the brown, and then there would have been more room for error, kind of. But it doesn't change the fact that it still suffers as a result. And then lastly, I'm just gonna, you know, one of those things I'm gonna keep saying until they change it is that empty holding hand when you only have one accessory. And I know it's supposed to hold this, the lightsaber as well, so we can have two hands holding the lightsaber, and that's fine. Give us a separate holding hand. However, because of the elbow range, like we kind of discussed, he has a hard time holding it anyway, so they might as well just give us the option, because the option that they have given us doesn't work as well. Plenty of positives though. Good head sculpt. The paint is pretty much clean and well done throughout. Like I said, we could have used a second layer over the lower legs, but it's a really small issue. Overall, this figure is extremely well painted, extremely well sculpted, and extremely well articulated. So the most glaring issue is that thing on the head, and outside of that, I think you'll be able to forgive most everything else. So it's a strong recommend for me, a strong release. I'm glad they did it as an exclusive with the carded back and then for the main line. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.